There is a promise made in office towers and company handbooks. It sounds noble, fair, even scientific. Hard work gets rewarded. The best idea wins. Your output determines your outcome. Meritocracy. You hear this story from your first job interview, and something in you wants to believe it, because the alternative is uncomfortable. But look closer. In 1958, a British sociologist named Michael Young published a book called The Rise of the Meritocracy. He was not celebrating the concept. He was warning about it. He imagined a future where society sorted people by intelligence and effort, and where those at the bottom internalized their failure as deserved. The book was Satire, a dystopia dressed as progress. 60 years later, corporations use the word in mission statements. They mean the opposite of what Young intended. They mean our leaders earned their power. The revelation that meritocracy has always been a dystopia disguised as progress. That has already changed something inside you. If this first piece of the puzzle made your brain light up, subscribe to the channel to keep descending into the next layer. Because what comes next will show that the problem is not in you. It is in the map they gave you. And before we continue, tell me in the comments, what was the first moment in your professional life when you felt the system was not fair? One word, one memory, the first time the veil fell. Here is what nobody tells you. The CEO tenure across large companies averages 7.6 years. That is not a performance-based turnover. That is a dynastic rhythm. In many organizations, executive succession is dynastic. Family members replace founders. Power passes to the next generation, not the most capable manager. You have seen this pattern yourself. The boss who cannot be fired. The promoted manager with worse results than the person beneath them. The executive who inherited a department rather than earning it. We call it corporate. But the structure is much older. It is monarchy. Now stop looking at the behavior. Look at your reaction to it. When you see incompetence rise through connection rather than merit, something stirs inside you. A hot frustration, a sense of injustice. Your chest tightens. You replay the conversation in your head. Why him and not me? Why her and not her work? That reaction is not modern. It is ancient. For 99% of human history, you lived in groups of roughly 30 to 150 people. Your survival depended on a simple equation. Contribution equals status. The one who hunted effectively, the one who knew where water was, the one whose judgment saved the group from predators, that person earned influence, not through birth, through visible, repeated, survival-relevant competence. When you see a promotion that bypasses merit, your ancestral wiring screams unfair. And it is correct. But the system you live in now does not follow your wiring. It follows a different logic. Here is the parallel that changes everything. In ancestral tribes, there was another path to power: dominance. A larger male could physically intimidate others. A coalition of brothers could control access to food. A charismatic speaker could override group consensus. These were not merit-based. They were power-based. They worked because the group had no courts, no contracts, no external enforcement. You accepted hierarchy because the alternative was exile, and exile meant death. The modern corporation is not a meritocracy. It is a dominance hierarchy dressed in business suits. The CEO does not rule because they are the most competent. They rule because they have control over resources, information flow, and succession lines. The structure concentrates decision-making at the top. A small upper echelon makes choices that affect thousands. Sound familiar? Monarchies worked the same way. The king was not the smartest or the hardest working. The king was the one who held the army, controlled the treasury and appointed his successor. Loyalty mattered more than competence. Politics mattered more than output. Appearance mattered more than truth. And here is the third layer that changes everything. The company is not a meritocracy. It is an office monarchy. Once this piece clicks into place, you will never look at hierarchy the same way again. If you have felt firsthand the difference between competence and power, subscribe to the channel so we can keep breaking down together these survival programs that still command your life. And tell me, what manager or leader did you see rise without deserving it? Leave the name of the situation in the comments. No real names, only the archetype, because recognizing the pattern is the first step to no longer being its victim. And here is the buried insight. Your brain treats corporate hierarchy like tribal monarchy. Because it is. When your boss makes a decision that ignores your input, your body responds as if a tribal chief dismissed your voice. Your amygdala activates, your cortisol rises, your jaw tightens. You feel small. But in the tribal context, that smallness was useful. It told you when to defer to avoid punishment. It kept you alive. Today, that same response makes you feel powerless. Not because you are powerless, because your brain is reading the situation through a 40,000-year-old lens. There is a moment of recognition you have probably already experienced. Think about your worst job, the one where effort did not matter, the one where promotions went to the connected, not the competent, the one where you felt invisible despite your results. What did you feel? Anger. Yes, but also something deeper. A sense that the universe was broken, that the rules were rigged, that your internal model of how the world should work was wrong. That feeling is the collision between two systems. Your ancestral programming expects visible, earned, survival-relevant status. Your modern environment delivers invisible, inherited, connection-based power. The mismatch is not your fault. Research from organizational psychology shows something uncomfortable. Meritocratic practices in companies often lead to greater inequality, not fairness. The belief in meritocracy makes people more likely to justify existing hierarchies. They think, if I worked hard and they promoted someone else, there must be a reason. The system must be fair. Your brain rationalizes to protect itself from the pain of injustice. But here is the uncomfortable truth your gut already knows. The corporation is not designed to be fair. It is designed to concentrate power and minimize risk to the power holders. That is what every hierarchical system has done for 5,000 years. From pharaohs to CEOs, the structure remains the same. The language changed. The wiring did not. Executive pay gaps are often justified as meritocratic, but the CEO to worker pay ratio has jumped from 21:1 in the 1960s to 2:1 today. Did executives suddenly become 14 times more productive, or did power concentration accelerate? You know the answer. Now consider the most unsettling implication. You have been told your whole life that ambition is the path to power, that if you work hard enough, you can reach the top. But the data tells a different story. Most power transitions in large organizations are not about merit. They are about succession planning, political alignment, and risk management. The people who rise are not always the most competent. They are the ones who best navigate the dominance hierarchy. And your brain was not trained for that. It was trained for a world where visibility and contribution were the same thing. Here is where the shift happens. Once you see the corporation as a dominance hierarchy, you stop feeling broken. The frustration at work was not a sign of your inadequacy. It was a sign that your ancestral wiring is intact. You were designed to detect unfairness, to feel injustice, to want earned status. That system works in a tribe. It fails in a hierarchy that hides dominance behind meritocratic language. You're not wrong for feeling angry. The system is wrong for pretending to be something it is not. But this awareness is power. Because when you stop believing the story, you can start navigating the actual structure. The authentic leader in a dominance hierarchy does not wait for merit to be recognized. They understand that visibility, alliances, and strategic communication matter as much as output. They build coalitions, they manage their reputation, they learn the unwritten rules. And here is the paradox. By accepting that the system is a monarchy, you gain the freedom to operate differently. You stop being disappointed by politics. You stop expecting fairness from a structure that was never designed to provide it. You start making choices based on reality, not on the story you were sold. Your ancestors did not fight the tribe structure. They learned it. They found the allies. They read the power currents. And when the hierarchy became too corrupt, they left and formed a new group. You have that same power. Now that you have seen the entire mechanism, the dominance hierarchy dressed as merit, you can choose not to be swallowed by it anymore. If this shift in perspective made sense to you, subscribe now so you do not miss the next deep dives, where we will break down how to use these unwritten rules in your favor. And before you go, answer me in the comments. Will you keep trying to win the game of meritocracy, or will you start playing the real game of influence and alliances? One word defines your choice: meritocracy or dominance. I want to see which side is stronger in you today. The next time your boss makes a decision that ignores your contribution, notice your reaction, not to suppress it, to understand it. That anger is your ancient mind telling you that something is wrong. And it is. But you are not trapped. Your mind was built for a world that no longer exists. But that same mind can now see both systems: the tribal wiring, the modern hierarchy, the gap between them, and in that gap, you can choose. You can continue playing a game designed by people who inherited their position. Or you can learn the actual rules, navigate the dominant structure with clear eyes, and build your own authority where merit and survival align again. The choice was always yours. You just never knew you were walking between two worlds.